So, hello, Chance. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Chance. I am a owner of a brand called Exalt Jewellery. I sell 18K gold plated and hypoallergenic jewelry, and 10% of all of the proceeds are donated to an organization that helps girls and women rebuild their life. And this organization is based in the Congo.
Right, that's really interesting. So, can you tell us a little bit more about um the organization and what they do to help women and girls?
Yeah, of course. The organization is called Panzi Foundation. It was founded by a doctor called Dr. Dennis Mukwege. He's a personal hero of mine. He is a gynecologist and he has been working with girls and women in Congo for quite some time and came up with opening this organization. And with the organization, he provides, of course, medical support for the women and girls and also counseling a little bit. um, in the Congo, rape is seen as a war weapon, and it is quite brutal. So there are countless stories of children close to 6 years old, as young as 6 years old, being sexually assaulted. And Dr. Des Mukwege took that upon himself to create an organization that, supports ongoing women and girls. And I have been donating to the organization myself for quite some time. And then when I decided to open the business, I said, why not turn this into something that also, empowers other people across the world? So the jewelry, yes,
Yeah,
beautiful. It's great quality, but I also want to have a message behind it. So that's where I came from.
yeah, that's a really good cause. So how does the organization support the women and girls? What sort of activities do they do?
Well, it depends on different activities. So if you are able to go on their website, it's panzifoundation.com, and you'll
Okay.
see different types of activities. So last I recall reading they talked about, I guess they added counseling into it. So just having that social aspect and also creating the, like a community, because after
Yeah.
going very traumatic, um, traumatic event, you want to be around people that can constantly support you and that can talk to you and encourage you to, to stand up and go back and rebuild the life that you want,
Yeah.
away from pain and also away from fear.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that sounds like a really needed resource. Do they have funding through grants and internationally, or what sort of funding do they get apart from yours?
Well, they get funding from all other places. So there's other people that do donate. They are a nonprofit. So they rely quite heavily on funding from,
Yeah,
donors, sponsors, or just any person looking to donate. I don't have a lot of the research on what you're asking me. I
yeah,
do,
that's fine. You might not know the answer.
but all I know is that they get funding from, I believe they're also applying for grants like all nonprofits so that they can keep the process going and the support going.
Yeah, definitely needed and worthwhile. So tell us a bit more about your jewelry then, because I'm interested in that as well.
Yeah, my jewelry is 18K gold plated. I chose gold because it's the color or the color that I grew up with. It has been, I tested jewelry for about 6 months before I put it out in market just to ensure that it's good quality and also hypoallergenic. I do have a couple of pieces with me. So
So you
let
don't make it yourself, you source it from
no,
other places. Yeah.
yes, you source it from other places. Currently, I'm sourcing it from China. I'm currently in the search of finding African designer and jewelry factories so that I can work with African designers and have things coming from the continent that I'm born in. So this is it's a little bit of timeless pieces.
Yeah.
So this is one of the jewelries that we have. Just a simple necklace that can be worn every day or special occasion. And yeah, so my process through the jewelry is just ensuring that one, it's good quality and also when I do purchase it, it's not just myself testing it, but other people as well, so that I can get feedback. I see that as business owners, we tend to be quite biased about us because we great idea and we believe it's going to solve the world, right? It solves a lot of issues, but we're still biased. So we have to get feedback from other people and have them give us, raw feedback and how we can improve on that. So I have a couple of friends and testing it out as well whenever I get the product, and they give me feedback on how I can improve. There has been some jewelry that I did get but did not sell because the feedback was not
Yeah. Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? You can't always succeed when you're in business. It's about learning as you go, isn't it?
yes.
So tell us a little bit more about how you got into jewellery. Have you always sold jewellery, or is it something new for you?
Well, it's been on the back of my mind for quite some time, but actually getting into the venture is a little bit new. I've had been a lover for jewelry for quite some time, even though I'm not wearing any.
Well, I noticed your earrings.
Yeah, it's just usually the earrings or just this little bracelet that
Yeah.
But when I was a little girl growing up, I used to always get gifted jewelry. And one of the jewelry that made me feel empowered, that made me feel like I was untouchable. I was basically on top of the world. Those were waist beads. And when I grew up, I wanted to build something that made other people feel empowered. So I believe in secondary school, I started watching a little bit of videos on how to make jewelry because my thought was I'm going to start a jewelry business. And with everything that goes, I put in the back of my mind and say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow until, and then it never happened. And I remember I was on a little weekend getaway and I just kind of like stood up out of the bed and I said, if I do not start this business, I would never start it. Might as well just start working, moving forward. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It will suck because, you're putting in a lot of effort. But
Yeah.
I tried something and I know that it wasn't the venture, right? It's something that I've been thinking about for quite some time. So on that, it was I believe in June or July when my getaway was. And then when I came back home after my getaway, I got into research, started researching the type of metals, started researching what are the best base for metal. I started basically doing everything from scratch, doing all of the research because I wanted to make sure that I understood what I was going in. And when people would ask me, questions, I would be able to answer. I'm a big type of person saying knowledge is power, and also being able to show that your product is great.
Yeah.
People are more
Yeah.
confident and they want to spend more money or want to spend money on you if you know what you're talking about. So I started
Definitely.
research and I talked to my best friend. I'm like, oh, I want to do a small business. She was such a sweetheart. She said, okay, well, I'll start with the social media. You just send me the pictures and I'll post. So she did help me with that. And after that, well, the first 6 months, I got the product. After all the research, I got the product, started testing it out and giving it to family, friends, just to also test it out to see if it's great quality or what we can do to improve. And the 6 months mark passed. I started creating some content. I am not great at content creation. I love everybody that's a content creator, so creative. I am not there at all. It takes me for him to be able to create content or just to think about what to talk about. So after that, I started sending my friends some pictures. She posted some of the pictures on social and started getting a little bit of traction. And I was lucky enough, a group of women in Toronto saw my business on my social media and said, "Hey, we would like to invite you to one of our showcase for, I believe it was a Women International Day that, we're just celebrating women. Are you interested in coming?" And that was my very first event. And from there, it has been a lot of learning and a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to go outside of my comfort zone. I am a quiet person. I like to stay in my little bubble. I'm at home. I have everything that I need, but
Yeah.
It's allowing me to meet different people like you as well, right? It's allowing me
Yeah.
to go outside of my comfort zone, talk to new people, interesting people, so that we can see, we can connect, we can keep in touch. So that's what I've been doing. And last year, 2023, I kind of took an unexpected break. I wasn't planning on taking the break, but I was just a bit too tired. I was working full time at my 9 to 5, and then I was doing part time school, and I had also other other things that life was happening. So I just took a break, and I started coming back this year in July of this year, 2024. I started working on my website. It is not the greatest because, as a solo entrepreneur, I believe you're also aware when you first started
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
business.
Yeah, you should have seen my first website.
How was
Think
it
I built it myself.
compared to
That's where
now?
you start. Yeah.
Yeah, you
And you
you got
have to learn how to do everything. You've got to wear all the hats. You've got to learn the finance. You've got to learn the social media. You've got to learn the website and how SEO works. And you have to learn everything. And then you have to network. And then you have to do the work as well. So for you, that's sourcing and knowing your product, sourcing it, selling it, following up, customer service, all of that. And then, you know what I mean? And yeah, you've got to be everything, and that's exhausting. So are you saying that you were doing your business last year and then you were ill because you were doing too much? Or was this something that you started because you were ill?
No, I started it because I wanted to start something.
Yeah,
And last year, I did not get ill. It was just I was very busy. I wasn't able to
yeah,
be consistent.
yeah.
So I kind of
So you
just
weren't able to focus on it.
exactly that's the word.
Yeah,
That's the word.
yeah,
I would fully focus on it. It was just like I'll do a little bit here and then I'll stop. I have other things to do, and then I'll say, "Oh, I have a business. I should be working on that," right? It's like that. It's like so then. Oh yeah, I should be working on something. What is it? Oh yeah, it's my business, right? Something that I want to.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
But it is because you have to earn a living while you're setting up your business because it's not going to bring in money straight away.
exactly. It takes quite some time too, right? It's not, people tend to think that it's, you wake up, you have a business, and then there you go. It's not that. It's, you wake up, you have a great idea, you start asking people to kind of just to have that validation to see if that's a great idea, right? And you start working at it, and you have to put your own money in first. It's a really big investment, depending on, what type of business it is. And then afterward, like you said, you're wearing all of the hats. You're the COO, you're just basically everything. You're the marketing director, you're the content creator, you're the secretary, you're everything. So, yeah, I took a break last year because there was a lot of things happening and I couldn't focus on it. And this year, when things kind of slowed down a bit, I was determined to restart working on my business. I'm still not as consistent as I would want to because this whole year most of the time, I've been ill. So,
Right.
but
Okay.
we're doing it little by little, slowly by fairly. I think it's
Yeah.
a little bit of movement than it is to, constantly being perfect and getting things to move, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah. So when I started my business, I had left a job, and that's one of the reasons that I set it up. But it was really difficult, and I did actually get a contract straight away to do some work, which kept me going for the first year. But then I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to get a job. I had to take on a job. So I think I swapped my 9 to 5 for like 8 until 9 till 9 or something. So I was working like my business and this part-time job that I had, and it was just exhausting. So yes, I've totally been there, spinning all the plates, trying to get all the stuff done, and it is exhausting, and you have to learn so much as well.
Yeah.
So over here, we got a lot of business support in place. So there's funding, so we can go and get some support to help us to build the business, usually in the form of training and things like that. So is there anything like that where you are?
Yes, we have a couple of support as well, depending on where you're located. So a city or a province, you're able to get some support because each, the funding comes from, different places. It can be from the federal government or also like the municipal government. So just me going back into like becoming serious about my business this year, I was finally able to finish a business plan, which, everybody says you have to, that's the first thing you have to do.
They do, but you know what? I disagree with that. You only need a business plan to either get funding or to satisfy someone else. I never found that business plan useful. I probably shouldn't say that. You probably should have a plan. You do need a bit of a plan and to know where you're going and to have some goals.
Yes.
But like the way that the format is, I didn't find that helpful at all. But I think it depends on the type of person you are. If you're the type of person who's really into the detail and you need to like focus on the small stuff, then yeah, that's going to help you because you need to know where you like stage by stage. But for me, think I'm more of a bigger picture. So yeah, so I like have an overall thing that I want to do, and then I go, right, well, what can I do now to get a little bit closer? And I don't know what the bit in the middle is until I start doing it and I start looking.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, right? When you own your own business, it's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then you start walking towards like, I want to get to point B, but I'm all the way down here. Not even A, you're all the way at the bottom.
But that's the thing though, because you don't know what it's going to look like. How can you put a really complicated plan in place, like a really detailed plan, because you don't know how you're going to do the next thing. You don't know what and you don't know what opportunities you're going to get from speaking to other people. So it's only when you start doing it and then things change and then the business plan's completely out of date before you've even launched your business, started selling anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of business plans.
Did you have to do a business plan for your current business? And also, I want to know, how many ventures do you have? So it seems like you have the podcast and you also have the support, the personal support and independent living. What else do you have?
So I've got the podcast and then I've got about 80 staff who work for me. Well, I say me, for the company. And I've got a manager who manages that and a team of people who just do all the work, basically. So I do get involved. It's not that I'm completely not involved, but it's usually when there's a problem or there's a decision to be made. So it doesn't take up all of my time. So that's why I've got time to set up a podcast. And the other thing that I do is I'm a counsellor as well, so provide mental health support as well. And I've got some students on placement as well that help me to deliver that mental health support. So yeah, sorry, I've forgotten what the question was. Did I answer it?
Well, you answered part of it. I wanted to talk to see, we talked about business plan, right? And how it could be outdated as you're working on
definitely
the business, right? I wanted to know, for your first venture, did you create a business plan or have you ever created a business plan?
Yeah, I've had to create them for business support services. When I first started, because I was out of work, and there was a bit of a gap between me losing a job that I had and starting my business and starting to earn money. So I claimed benefits for a really short time, partly because you could access more support if you did that. So it wasn't very long that I was on that. And for that, in order to get the support that I needed to set up the business, had to create a business plan for that. But I didn't look at it after I created it for that. I didn't really use it. And the other time I had to create a business plan was when we went to get some loan funding. So I needed a business plan to do that as well. So that was quite an in-depth plan. But again, it wasn't something that I used for me to move the business forward. It was for other people.
Yeah, I see. I see what you mean. I completely agree. But I think also, when I started my business, I was like, I don't need a business plan, but I know down the line I will have to do one. So going back to your, question about the resources that we have here for entrepreneurs, I participated in a training program. It's kind of like a boot camp for entrepreneurs, and the 2 months, I believe around 10 weeks, we were able to create a business plan. So there was a lot more learning and it was very intense, and I was able to create a business plan, and it made things a lot more clear for me.
Yeah, I think there's a way of doing it that can help. Like, so when kind of planning that helped me was like brainstorming, and I think I got a roll of plain wallpaper and I just wrote everything down like a spider thing, with lines going everywhere. That helped me to see where I was going and what I needed to do. But the structured, like, template business plan that the support services wanted me to do didn't help. I mean, it did in a way, but I didn't use it, and I wasn't keeping it up to date. You're supposed to, but yeah, I've found that things just take a twist that you're not expecting. And so then you have to rewrite the whole thing because it's not going the way you thought it would.
No, yeah, I see that. I see that. But for me, I'm very grateful I was able to write a business plan because I recently applied for a grant. Fingers crossed. I don't know if I'll get it. But all of the answers I was looking for, I'm like, I remember these answers. They're in my business plan.
Yeah,
Made the process a lot shorter. It made it a
yeah,
lot shorter, and it clarified a lot of things. But you're right, on the keeping it updated, it is a very long document. It is a very long document, like 30 page. I don't think I'm able to sit and read everything 30 page. But
no,
I have been going back and forth to my business plan whenever I have time, just kind of thinking, okay, well, this is nice, but what I've learned recently is completely different. And the other, you know, the way, the direction I want to take is still the same, but there's one more step that I need to do before I reach what I said in the business plan. Now it's just typing it in and having it in the business plan. And I'm like, that's a lot of work.
yeah.
That's a
It
lot
is a
of
lot of work, but I think having some goals, so an overall goal, like, I don't know, say you want to sell so much jewelry because that's going to make X amount of money, and then you'll be able to donate X amount to this project that you want to support, then that overall goal, and then how do you, then you get and then you think about all the steps that you're going to put in to achieve that. And that, I think that's a more helpful way of doing it than writing a 30-page document and keeping it up to date.
Yes, the 30-page document. I think it's like a quarterly document, just or even twice a year.
Yeah. But it's good to have a financial goal and then maybe a different goal as well. Goals for yourself in your life as well as for your business, because when you've got a business, it's too easy to just be sucked in and do nothing else other than focus on your business. Well, I don't know if everybody's the same as me, but I tend to get a bit obsessed with things and I get sucked in and I get hyper focused. And so, yeah, so having a bit of a goal for outside of work, not just the business, that was really helpful for me as well.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, sometimes I do find myself kind of just focusing and forgetting everything else as well. But the finding goals, I've been reflecting, as the year finishes, we all want to just sit and reflect on, what we've done in the past. And I was sitting and reflecting, and I'm like, I am not too sure if I had as many goals this year as I did in the previous years. But I moved, and I'm here.
Exactly. I don't, yeah, so is that something that you usually do, set goals?
I do actually. I usually have little tiny goals and I get them done. But this year, I don't think I can't seem to remember like what goal, because each year I have like a really big one. I know this is what, if somebody asks me, what did you do, this year, it will be that main goal. And it's the biggest thing. I remember it clearly. This year, I don't think I set anything. And I've just been going with the flow, and life has been bringing me everywhere all at once. But it's been such a great journey.
Yeah. Do you write your goals down?
I do actually. I have a bunch of notebooks like back here.
Yeah.
It's of notebooks, and like on my desk as well. I have a bunch of notebooks.
because it helps you to sort of set it in your mind. The other thing that I found really useful, which I was like, I wasn't sure if I believed in any of that because I'm not religious or very spiritual, but I do quite like to think that there's something bigger than us out there, and that was to set some intentions for the year. So I have a word of the year. I've done that for many years, and that it's instead of New Year's resolutions, and I find that really useful to, just because it's not like you can, like if your New Year's resolution is to go on a diet or go to the gym, then it's too easy just to not. But if you've got a word of the year, then it's a guiding word and there's no guilt associated with it. It's just like, you know what I mean? Yeah, that was my word and that was what it was about. But I also have like a vision board, and I do a little bit of that manifesting and stuff like that. I don't know if you've come across that. So my vision board is a digital photo frame, and I put things on there that I want to achieve, and I've found that really powerful.
I just got into vision boards. I used to hear about it. I made one 3 years ago, and I did not reflect back on it, but I do remember like kind of checking, like, or like putting a check mark on the pictures when something happened. But I
Yeah.
did get into vision board, and I was having so much fun, like getting all the pictures together. I was like,
Yeah.
this is so great. So I created a vision board. So we'll see. I might have to reflect back on it for next year, during the same period,
Yeah.
and see how it goes.
Because you might not have done all the things that you've set out that you put on there, because it might be for future, but it's about working towards what you want to put in your life. Because I do find, well, I have found in the past that if I, like, when everybody else is around you, you end up going along with things that other people want rather than what you want, if you don't really think about what it is that you do want and put them in your life. So yeah, I do find that, especially as a woman, I think that's what we do as women, isn't it? We look after everybody else first, and we don't think about our own needs until we're like burnt out or we reach a crisis point in our lives, and then we're like, well, hang on a minute, what is it that I want in my life? Have you found that yourself?
Yeah, I do have a lot of like life goals, and I'm excited for them. I just have to work on the goals that are here, that are not here right now, but that I'm able to work on, like in short
Yeah,
term, so that I can reach the bigger goals. The bigger
yeah,
goals, it would take me forever.
yeah, absolutely. So it's about the smaller goals feed into the larger goals. Yeah.
Eggs.
Well, that's how you're meant to do it. So I do think that's useful. Um, I think I'm quite like you've said, I've got quite a few things going on in my life, and that's how I've always been. I don't like I say I get hyper focused on things, but I don't like to just have one thing in my life. I like to have lots of different things. I like to do lots of different things, and I've had a lot of different jobs in the past before I set up my business. I used to work for charities in the voluntary sector, but they were all linked with working with people, so people who had mental health challenges, or they were over 50, or they were in housing situations, and I work with people with brain injury. So it all tied together with working with people, and that's what my businesses are as well. But I do never really specialised in something. I never really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, so I've never really specialised and just focused on one thing. I like to have lots of things on the go, which is why I've got the care service and the counselling, and then we do training as well, and then the podcast as well. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I also like to have a lot of things going on, but sometimes I feel like I get lost. I get
It
lost,
can.
but it keeps me busy, which I love. Being busy is great because you're moving, you're getting things done, right? And I think that's very important. Like in our day and age now, a lot of things, it's just like we're just sitting and not doing much. So when we're able to be busy, it's also good for our brain, right? We get tiny little challenges, how can I overcome this challenge today? Let's say your friend is not able to meet you until a certain time, and you're not able to meet your friend until a certain time. That's a little tiny challenge. And I'm like, okay, I have to find it. I always usually say, okay, you send me your schedule, and it's better that way. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about you working in the vulnerable sector, helping people who are at need. I've also worked with people in the vulnerable sector frontline, and I've seen how important it is for us as a community, as a society, to support one another and make sure that we're all good so that society can keep moving and we can be, a cohesive community, knowing that, there is places that we can go to get some support. So how did you get into working with the vulnerable sector?
Well, interestingly, I was a teenage parent, so I had my first baby. I was only just 18. It was like I was overdue on my 18th birthday, and I had 3 children by the time I was 23, and I stayed at home and looked after them. And then when I came to go to work, well, while I was doing that, I wanted something for me as well. So I started volunteering because it was quite flexible and I could learn skills and work around the family. And I did some college courses as well and nearly went to university, but things didn't work out at that point. But because I'd been doing voluntary work, that was all in charities. And so when I started looking for a job, I ended up the first job that I got to sort of get into the voluntary sector was the umbrella organisation that supported all the charities in the local area.
Mm-hmm.
And they advertised a job to the volunteers who'd been working on this project. And I was one of them and I got the job. So that's how it started. And then that job was time limited. All of the jobs that I had were time limited. And so I ended up going from job to job and I felt like I was always applying for jobs. So yeah, so I've worked in lots of different charities. Started off working with it was a government project helping to support people who had been on what they considered to be inactive benefits, which meant that it was people who had been off work on sickness benefits, like they'd been ill, and so they'd return to work having been off work ill, and it was to support them to stay in work after they'd returned. So that was that was the first full-time job that I had in the voluntary sector, and although I worked as a carer before that as well, lots. I'm jumping around. So that, and then from there I went to work with people. It was Age UK, what's now Age UK. It was Age Concern at the time. And so that was a charity that support people who are older. And I was supporting people in that job who were over 50 to either return to work or to think about their retirement or just to think about positive activity. Sometimes they'd been made redundant, sometimes they'd retired and still wanted to do stuff. So I was supporting them. So that was a range of people. It wasn't just vulnerable people. It was some really, they'd had a job up there, like top of the tree, either retired or been made redundant, and trying to support them because the job market had changed since the last time they tried to get work, or they were retiring but they didn't want to give up everything. So it was trying to help them to find the opportunities that they wanted to get. And then I was made redundant from there, yeah. And then I started working with people with brain injury, and that was really interesting. We're connected with a lot of law firms because they were working in the litigations, sort of with the catastrophic injury teams. So I was working with people who'd had a stroke or had a car accident or had been beaten up or all sorts of things had happened to them. And yeah, so that was a really interesting job because a lot of those people had, they'd been in hospital for a long time because of their brain injury and they were learning to do everything again. But the good thing about a brain injury, not that it's a good thing, but the positive is that the brain can make new connections. And so as you progress and if you keep active, you can have a positive impact on the outcome of your illness. So that was really interesting. Some of the people I worked with were struggling to speak. So I worked with one woman who had a stroke, she couldn't speak very much, so she could only say the odd word. And then one day, we had like an activity and she was there, and the woman who was facilitating the activity started singing, and she joined in, and she couldn't believe it because she could sing perfectly, because
What?
it's a different part of the brain that
Yeah.
is, yeah. So I was like, right. So I encouraged her to sort of sing everything that she wanted. And so, yeah, she'd go around, I would like a cup of tea
Oh, that must have been fun at work.
sometimes. So, yeah. So we used to go for like fish and chips and go for cake and coffee and go for walks and just encouraging them to get out into the community and meet each other and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've had some fun in work.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. All that work is very much needed, and I'm sure people that you work with, you know, were showing you like, how grateful they were for you already being there, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not easy work too. It's not easy work, but it's work that we need to keep our society, from moving forward, supporting our society. That's amazing. I have a question though. One of the things that have been kind of fascinating me lately is dementia and Alzheimer's, right? I'm
Yeah.
kind of reading a little bit about it, mostly on kind of like how to slow it down. Have you had the pleasure of working with people that had these challenges, and how was that?
Yeah, yeah. So years and years ago, I was a carer. So one of my very first clients that I worked with had dementia, and she was nonverbal, and I was so confused, and I didn't understand it back then. I think I was in my 20s, and I didn't know anything about dementia. Never worked with older people before. It was brand new for me. And, she would like go over to the lampshade and start stroking it and get really confused. And I had to keep repeating myself, come on, wash your face, wash your face. And she would do it, because that was part of the training was, you keep them as independent as you possibly can. So you encourage them to do as much as they can for themselves. I used to encourage her to wash her own face rather than wash her face for her, even though it would be much quicker for me to just wash her face, but it's better for her to do it herself because it keeps her, doing those things, keeping her active. And then obviously when I set up the care service, at the beginning of setting up the care service, I used to go out and do care as well. So I looked after a lot of people with dementia there as well. There was one woman who I used to help her go in the shower, but she was terrified of the water. So scared of the water. So that was a challenge. And I'm really shy, and I don't really I just burst into song there, but I don't usually do that. I'm quite shy and I don't like singing. But for this woman, she really got a lot out of singing, and she joined in. So she was nonverbal, but she could sing, and she started singing because, yeah, and that was just amazing as well. So I'd sing to her in the shower to try and take her mind off the fact that I was washing her, because she didn't want to get washed. She would scream when I put the shower head on her, like on the
Yeah,
water. So it was horrible. I felt really awful. But
yeah.
the things that can slow down dementia are like doing puzzles and things like that, and keeping your brain active,
Yeah.
and like repetition and song and stuff like that as well. And
Thinking.
obviously, yeah, yeah. So there was I didn't run it, but when I worked for the charity that worked with people who'd had brain injuries, there was a group that ran that a lot of them went to, and it was called Singing for the Brain. And a lot of the Alzheimer's charities and things, they all do those types of activities, singing for the brain, because it's just so good for you.
That's interesting. I am going to increase my in the shower singing that.
It's all the things as well. It's all the things that are healthy. So exercise, sleeping well, keeping hydrated, not dehydrated, keeping
Yeah.
hydrated, eating healthy food, all of those things that you're encouraged to do anyway, benefits. Yeah, I think there's been some more research that I haven't had a chance to look into. So I think there's probably some new stuff in there as well about reducing your chances of getting it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it's a really interesting
It really is.
area.
I was watching, there's a show called, it's on Netflix. I think it's called A Man on the Inside or The Inside Man, one of those. I don't remember. and they talked about it. So I kind of got into focus. I'm like, oh, this is very interesting because the brain, I find the brain very fascinating. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
it
things.
is.
Just the whole human body in general is quite fascinating to me, from how we can heal ourselves, right? Already, and also from how like we can wake up and just either remember something or not remember something. It's a crazy science to me that I wish
Yeah.
I'm able to know every single
And
thing.
there's that sort of the kind of dream stuff as well. Like your subconscious throws up all this stuff that you're not
Yeah.
aware of, and also your emotions as well. So like when you're thinking about like counselling and your mental health and stuff, it's about your gut feeling and what that's telling you and tuning into it, because you think that's not logical, but actually it is, because it's something deep within you that's telling you that something's not right and you need to pay attention to it
Mhm.
because it's protecting you. So you never ever dismiss your gut feeling.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because I've heard of it, and um, people will keep telling me like it's it's you have to heal your gut, eat properly, for your gut and your gut feeling. And I'm like, well, I need to learn how to. First of all, I need to know and learn how to listen to my gut feeling. Like, I don't think I've had any experience of how when my gut feeling was telling me something, unless it was like extreme periods. I'm like, I don't feel great. I'm not gonna go. That's it. But
Uh-huh.
besides that, I haven't like,
It's just getting in tune with what's going on in your body when you're doing certain things.
mm,
Like if you get into a situation where you don't feel safe, if your body will tell you there's
yeah,
something not right here, you need to leave. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's where the fight or flight and all of that comes from. So, yeah, it is really fascinating. So they'll like a lot of people will like um, dismiss that sort of stuff, but I'm really interested in what happens in your subconscious, because you know what's best for you, and that's what I do in counselling. I help people to find out what their intuition, what they are feeling, because when you've got someone in front of you and they're telling you what's going on in their lives, they obviously know more than I do.
mhm,
So I'm just helping them to connect with what's going on when they're talking to me about it, because they have all this other information because they've been in the situation. So they've had the sight, the smell, the touch, all of those different senses, as well as the language and whatever else is going on. Whereas I'm just getting them to tell me about it. So I
mhm.
haven't seen any of that. So they know more than me. So it's about guiding them to reach that point where they're in touch with whatever their body's telling them, because it's something that's developed evolutionary, from our ancestors. And that's how, yeah, we're very complex people, very complex animals, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, we're great. It's
And
fascinating.
I definitely think that's something that you need to do as a business owner. You need to get in touch with your emotions and your intuition and do a lot of personal development in order to learn and grow so that you can be the best you can to grow your business, because it is challenging. You need your resilience, you need your strength, you need courage, you
Yes.
need to be brave, you need to step out of your comfort zone, you need all these skills. And so, yeah, I would really encourage you to look into doing some personal development alongside the learning about how to do the nitty gritty in the job as well. I say
Yeah,
a job. I don't like calling it a job because it's not a job, is it?
it's a
It's
passion
like,
that turns into a job.
well, I don't like to say that I've got a job because it's not really packaged like a job. When you're employed by someone else, you've
That's
got your terms and conditions, you're told when to go to work and all of that. And you've got a business, you've got none of that. You haven't got holidays unless you set them yourself. You haven't got, you don't have to work when someone else tells you. You can choose your own hours.
mhm.
Um, yeah, so there's lots there that makes it not a job. Do you know what I mean? Because you are in charge of it and you are in control.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the being in control and in charge of all that is great until, after one procrastination of like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I mean,
So
for me,
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. You have to do the things that you don't like doing as
oh
well
yeah,
as the things that you do. until you get enough money behind you where you can pay someone else to do the things you don't like doing,
That's true.
like tax and stuff like that for me.
Yes. No, I go to an accountant. I can do my taxes.
Yeah.
And then they fill it out for me.
Yeah, I would say that's a good investment. Yeah. So was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, it was such a fun conversation. I enjoyed learning about you and how you came about, into your business and also into the podcast, venture. It was great. I had a really good time. I hope maybe one day I'll come back and we'll talk about something else. There's always something great to
Yeah,
talk.
that would be great. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.